That's my kind of feeling.
We are live. Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone. A little bit afternoon. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Bond Oversight Committee for January 22nd, 2026. I think it'd be good to go around the room and introduce ourselves. First, I'm Julie Hoy. I'm the mayor of Salem.
I'm Kelly Blake Schmidt and I am the admin support for this committee and I work in the budget office.
Brian Martin, Public Works Director.
Kelly Leinenbach, budget manager.
David Bart, Graphic Designer. Rob Rumback, Parks Planning Manager.
Josh Eggleston, Chief Financial Officer.
Gretchen Bennett, Community Services Director.
Aaron Kimsey, Assistant City Engineer.
Alan Dannon, City Engineer.
Bob Courtright, I'm a community member of the board. Mike Herron, community member.
Dave Grabo, Fire Chief.
Nikki Varney, City Councilor.
My Vang City Councilor serving as alternate.
Linda Nishioka, City Councilor.
Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes?
I move approval of the minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion by Vaughn, second by Nishioka. Counselor, to your motion, is there anything you want to talk about? Okay. Public comment, is anyone signed up?
No, ma'am.
No, thank you. Action items? None. We don't have to do anything. It's really cool. New items? None. How boring. Moving on. Here we go. Management update. Information items, the fire station update with Alan Dannon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here just to provide a quick update on the fire stations, and the chief is here to jump in as well. I'll kick things off with a reminder. So the bond itself included $14 million for 2 new stations. That was the intent. A station to replace Station 8, which is located on the Chemeketa campus, and then a new station, Station 12, which would be located somewhere in Southeast Salem. Station 8's the priority due to its current condition and just a need to get those folks into those firefighters into a more modern facility. And I just wanted to let you all know that we have identified a site. Finding a site is a little bit tricky because it needs to be the right size, it needs to be in the right location, it needs to be hopefully available, and it needs to have good access for the firefighters to respond out of the station. So it took us a while to find a spot, but we have found one out north of the existing station location. We're going to take that to executive session with City Council on Monday night and ask for their approval to move forward with negotiations with that property owner. Assuming that's successful, we would come back to council a little bit later with a purchase and sale agreement. One more thing about the overall budget, and then I'll turn it over to the chief for anything he wants to add. I mentioned that we have 14 million for 2 stations. What we're seeing is those prices are probably climbing above that. And so there's probably gonna be future discussion with this committee about how to deal with that. But our priority is to get Station 8 built because that's an existing station that needs fixing. The property numbers are coming in pretty close to what we thought. We had about $1 million figured for each site. And that looks like we're gonna be in that neighborhood so for that piece. But it's the construction piece that is trending high. So I want to let everybody know that. Chief, anything you want to add?
Yeah, so you mentioned Station 8, the facility itself is, it's just not a great facility, but operationally, it's not even in the city. It takes us quite a while to get off the campus and to get back into the city. So the new location not only will be better for working conditions, but operationally, it's going to be a lot more effective for us to respond and go to emergencies.
Any questions? Yes, Counselor Nishioka.
Alan, thank you. What is the projected timeline on these stations?
Construction.
Yeah, kind of the idea of that.
Yeah, and Aaron might be able to chime in on this, but assuming we close a deal here, we'll jump right into design this year and move through that as quickly as possible. So we could be into construction essentially a year after design begins. So we're at the beginning of 26. Hopefully we can be.
3 years with a 2-year
right.
window.
That's right.
So that's what I'm looking at is being able to find and when we would have to fund the additional staff.
Yeah, if I
because-
may on that then.
Yes,
So Fire Station 8, there is no additional staff and so it's a win-win on two fronts. One is
perfect.
certainly the location and then we're not adding staff to that. Fire Station 8 would be additional staff. As far as the move, the property that we're looking at is big enough that we can put a temporary fire station on it. That's gonna be our request, is that we put a temporary fire station while design and build is happening for
Okay,
that station, so we can immediately start serving that area.
perfect.
And the cost is minimal compared to the benefit that we're gonna get out of it. Station 12 certainly would be an additional cost. That is our number one gap area in that southeast. It's a busy area. We've had a number of significant incidents in there, and so the idea would be in the next couple of years, once 8 is built, that we can move that temporary station down to 12s, and then repeat the same process.
Okay. Thank you.
Ask, Chief, what does a temporary station look like?
Like a double wide mobile home, basically, and then maybe
Garage.
like a pop-up tent for a garage, like a Quonset hut, basically, like a fabric Quonset hut. Yeah, probably, we've had a couple bids that we could have it for both sites and not with hookups, but just the facility itself, probably under $200,000 and have it for several years.
There was a temporary station on site at Station 10 when we built that one off of State Street.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I know when we last did station construction, we used a single design, I think. Are we varying from that design, or what's this situation with design for these?
We're looking at a new design. Well, I'll tell you, every station we have is underbuilt. They weren't built for having an EMS and ambulance system, so it has to be bigger than what they are. And there are certainly more efficient designs out there on response and efficiency on how we can do that.
Anyone else? Thoughts or
I'll ask
questions?
you that question. I think, Bob, was your point more that would the design for these two stations be the same so that you would only have to do one design?
No, that's a better question than mine.
Well, it depends on, so we've identified property for AIDS, hopefully that moves forward. The property for Fire Station 12, again, there's confinement on property that would be suitable, and so it may require a design based on the property challenges. We'll see as we move forward.
Yeah, the benefit we had in the 2006 fire bond was we were building 4 stations at once. So we could bid them all out at once and do them all at once. So we did get some economies of scale from that. We're not really in that position here.
And the recession probably didn't hurt either.
It certainly did, right? We had a good time here.
Anyone else? All right, moving on then to pavement.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
So, second item update for me is the 2026 pavement R&R project. That's rehab and replacement. It's just a reminder, the scope of that project is Commercial Street from Boone Road, which is just north of Kugler, to almost to the 12th Street cutoff. And then also a section of Dokes Ferry Road between Brush College and Emerald Drive, which is about halfway down to Orchard Heights. And then along with that, we have not funded by the bond, but by utility rates, some water line replacement in the Commercial Street section. So that's a reminder what the project is. Just wanted to give you an update on where we are with that project in terms of budget and schedule. So I'm just going to talk about the paving piece because that's what's funded by the bond. So the total paving project budget, just as a reminder, was 3.55 million. As we went through design of the project, our bid estimate just for construction, so that 3.55 I gave you was for everything, design, construction, contingency. We were getting just a construction estimate of around $4.4 million and total was around $5 million. So we were trending pretty far over budget. So what we did is we put together a set of alternates in the bid to basically say, okay, how could we shorten the project to afford it? And then if we get good prices, what would we add on and have the contractors bid that as well, so that hopefully we have something that fits our budget and then something that maybe we would need to come back to you all and eventually to the council to talk about, do we need additional funding? The great news I have to report for you is the bids came in really good, so we don't have to have those discussions right now.
On this.
Yeah, that's right. So we had 4 bids that came in. We opened bids in December, very good competition, tightly grouped bids, and the lowest one for the paving piece was just under $3 million, 2.95 million. So our total project budget's 3.5. The construction came in at just under 3, for design and everything else. We have enough money to do the whole project. So that's the good news. The cautious news is it's very, very tight. So we may be looking at some kind of action to access savings from the previous project if we find issues with more base repair than we thought, or traffic signals that are giving us more trouble than we anticipated in the bid or something like that. So I just want to, again, no action required today, but give you all a heads up. That's where we are. We're in a good spot, but it's very tight. And so we might be back, depending on what we find during construction, to talk about the budget. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you.
I have a
Yes,
question.
Counselor
Yeah.
Barney.
Thank you. I was curious, how big a gap is there between Emerald Drive and the infrastructure stuff that the Titan Hill development is doing?
It's very close to each other. So actually they're connecting their sewer to within the limits of our paving project.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, I was just kind of curious because I was on it day
Doesn't-
before yesterday and I
It
just.
doesn't
was
quite
looking-
touch Titan Hill, but it's within a few hundred feet.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm curious, what does your estimate of the cost say about future prospects? I mean, other projects that we're looking at, is this a
Yeah.
different picture than we were getting with the previous projects that were coming in under budget? or-
Yeah, I think the trends are continuing. We're still seeing very, very low prices on things like asphalt and concrete compared to what we've been expecting. We adjusted our estimates, based on the results that we've seen. We haven't obviously gone like all the way down to, the last one was this, so we're gonna leave it there. We've tried to, stay a little bit conservative because we don't know exactly what the market's gonna do, but so far the trend seems to be very good competition for this work. I think our staff did a good job of getting through the design and getting it out at a time when contractors are wanting to lock up work for next year. And so that helped us for sure as well. But yeah, the trends I think are good. And we'll keep factoring these unit prices into our estimates. Again, staying on the conservative side and hopefully it continues for as long as we can hold out.
Counselor Nishioka.
Alan, so are you indicating that competitive pricing for the materials seems to be good? Is design what's kind of pushing over? I guess I'm just wondering what aspects of these bids do you find that are escalating?
Yeah, I think, well, I would say two things. Everything's essentially keeping pace with construction. But it's harder and harder to get a project to construction. So our costs for management, permitting, design, everything else, I'm not saying they're skyrocketing, but it just takes longer to get projects out to
Longer.
bid. And so that does add some cost.
Thank you.
Anybody else? So pavement's cheaper? I should get my driveway done.
It's a good time.
Okay. Safer Crossings Grant update by Mr. Brian Martin.
Yes, I don't have quite the good news that Alan had, unfortunately. This group probably recalls, we submitted a grant application, a federal grant application for safer streets. And for all, our hope was we could get $10 million. We could use the money that's in the budget from the bond as match funding so that we could get a much larger amount of crossings done. We were not selected again. So this is the second year in a row we did not get selected. We tried 2 years ago and we kind of had projects spread out across the city, didn't get selected. The response that we got back from Federal Highway Administration was, if you can confine those a little bit more and have it be more in a specific area, you'll have it increase. So that's what we did. As I mentioned, we submitted for 12 crossings. We did not get the grant. So that's 2 years in a row. We're probably now going to say, let's allow someone else to submit for that grant application next year. And the fire department's got a project they think that would be successful. And so we'll do some work with them. But we're probably going to start moving forward with these pedestrian crossings with the money that we have, which is about 3.5 million. So far less than the 10 million we're hoping to get. And it'll probably mean we're only going to get maybe 5 or 6 crossings instead of hopefully trying to get more. But there's a point where you got to start moving forward and making progress. And I think we've hit that after 2 failed grant applications.
Counselor Barney?
I was just curious, does the bond kind of serve as match or help? How does it work with our transportation fund for those?
Yeah, so we were hoping, so when we put the bond program together, we were trying to allocate the right amount of money to stay within that limit to
The $1.20 levy rate.
the $1.20 levy rate. And so we allocated these different projects. The original intent, especially with this one, was, hey, we'll use that money to build these crossings. However, as grant applications became available, we thought, let's go ahead and try and leverage the money we have for match funding and get federal funding to help us do more work. We were successful with that and on some of the transportation projects. We didn't have an application that was ranked as high as others across the country. So that doesn't mean we won't look for other grants on other projects. The McGilchrist Street project is an example of one where we have grant funding already in place that we've used. We also picked up some federal state funding on the path out here. That'll
A mix of.
a mix of federal and state. And so we didn't know we were going to get that money before we applied and we put this together, but we were able to get that money. So that's going to help with that project. So we'll look for opportunities and submit grant applications where we can on any of the projects in here. It's just that we've had two failed tries here on these pedestrian crossings.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Moving on then to McKay Park improvement. What's up?
That's me, actually. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. I'll have more information at our next meeting, if even further after that. But we just as a reminder, McKay is we're currently in design. We're getting ready to go out to bid. This park includes restroom facilities, a shelter, and pretty extensive sports fields improvements, including drainage and irrigation. Currently, our estimate is tracking over budget by about 450,000. And one of the items that's related to that is we are doing an extensive amount of sidewalk path repair. And so one of my requests when I come to the meeting next week is going to be to permission to use some of the Parks, Paths and Trails funding that's allocated for the bond to help fund the portion of work that we're doing in McKay to make those improvements. The other thing that we're tracking is we're providing some bid alternates within that design to see if we can pull out some of the items that we feel like, we know we have to deliver on the bond promises, which is the restrooms, the sports fields, and the shelter. And there's not really any, we don't really have any nice to haves. It was really difficult, but we did extract some bid alternates that we hope could get us closer to meeting the project. We have 300,000 roughly in park bond project savings. So some of the past projects that we've delivered, like the parking lots at Minto and the sports courts projects, those are all completed, and they resulted in about $300,000 of savings within those programs. So what I'd like to do is hopefully have the same success that Alan had on the paving project, get good bid results, and then hopefully see that deficit come down. Maybe we don't need to use any additional funding. But given the gap that we have, I feel like the first request is going to be, one, use some money from Parks, Paths and Trails, and then two, dip into that parks savings from those previous projects that were completed and not come back for a premium ask. That's what we're trying to avoid. If, we get bids and they're worse than we thought, then there's potential we may need to go there too. But I'm optimistic and hopeful that we'll still get some really good bids. I mean, we are hearing that, contractors are certainly eager to get work. And so we're continuing to track those costs. So it's really just a heads up of what may be coming in the future meetings. Any questions? Yeah.
So forgive my ignorance, I don't recall the
the full contract amount for McKay Park. What's the number?
You remember the number? I remember.
I believe it's 1.5 million plus $50,000. So it's just a 1.5.
So 1.5, basically. Was there contingency in there?
I mean, when we budget these projects, we usually try to leave in a budget contingency. What we've found on all of those estimates that we put together before the bond package was put together, it was some of those estimates were done but pretty quickly and efficiently, and we tried to capture all the things that we could and include a contingency. What we're finding is at least in design, that contingency is getting eaten up.
Before we ever get to construction.
Before we get to
where the real
construction.
Variables are.
Right, but that being said, we have completed two programs, the parking lot work and the sports courts. And we've ended the project with those two projects with 300,000 in savings. So even after we bid the project to go to construction, we're still really trying to cut as much cost as we can, being efficient with our project management and our inspection, not using consultants if we don't have to try to save there. So. Questions?
It sounds like design costs were higher. Were there other elements of the cost that were, point two that were higher than you expected?
You want to take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll say that we're certainly encountering some unexpected costs. For example, the park needs a new power service to support the irrigation controller in the restrooms. And that's a significant cost to run a new conduit out from Hollywood Drive. We're going to bore it and work with PGE and so that's a substantial cost that we just didn't anticipate. So, that's why you have contingency, but there's a number of those kind of issues and they're all adding up and putting us in this position.
Anyone else?
I think one other thing that I think is important to remember is that when we built the project budgets, as we inflated the estimates to the midpoint, so 5 years into the project, with the hope that early projects would have savings, and those could be used for later projects. What we found is that inflation over the last few years has eaten up, all those savings. So now we're at that tipping point where we're seeing projects come in over. So I don't think this is unexpected. But this is really why we wanted to start that policy discussion about premium, about savings, to be prepared to make it pretty simple to work through these kind of issues as they come up. So that's something we're going to bring back for your meeting next month.
Is there still a pad for a food truck being put in at McKay and that has power? Okay. Is it 50 amp power?
Believe so, yeah, that's what we've been putting in for our previous.
It's
installations.
30 or 50. We'd have to confirm exactly. We're modeling off of the riverfront services for food carts.
Okay. Well, as a person who's had to plug in a food trailer, 50 amp is way better.
Yeah.
Keeps all the equipment running. Anybody else? Okay, well, I see that we're doing a tour. That's good news.
Did we, is something added to the agenda, Rob, or wasn't sure? You're good? Okay,
Yeah, good.
okay, sorry.
Well, now I just want to know. I know. I was like, you didn't tell me. I was like, I didn't add anything. What am I missing?
I was
Did I
here.
get an old copy?
No, we all did. If you did, we all did.
And it says that we adjourn when we're done with the tour. Is that really a thing? Or should we adjourn this meeting?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we'll close down YouTube, close down this part, and then Erin will go ahead and guide us over next door. I'll lock this room. So if you guys want to leave like bags or computers or anything like that, feel free. And then at the end of the tour, we can come back and unlock. So I will go ahead and shut down YouTube and
Okay. Is there anything further from anybody on any topic? Okay, then we are adjourned.